Okay, in Bless Me Ultima by Rodolfo Nea, I chose the theme of innocence as a central topic for my critical thinking questions. Innocence is a recurring theme throughout Bless Me Ultima. It affects Antonio to a great extent, starting with the death of Lupito, as well as numerous other scenes in the novel. One can argue that Antonio you first meet in the first few pages of the novel is completely different from the Antonio at the end of Inaya's story. The first question I have is on page 165, and it says, "Had I already lost my innocence? How? I had seen Lupito murdered. I had seen Ultima's career. I had seen men come to hang her. I had seen an awful fight just now. I had seen and revealed in the beauty of the golden harp." How does the realization of Antonio losing his innocence affect the tone for the rest of the novel?
In the sense like he's kind of like laid back. He doesn't really search for it much anymore. He kind of like, but then again, he also does look for more things. He looks for answers. He looks for answers to questions that he's had for the longest time ever, especially on religion. And he starts to question many of his religious beliefs.
I think that now that he knows, or at least he thinks that he's lost his innocence, he's more willing to sort of throw caution into the wind and just do whatever he thinks is right, as opposed to what he's been taught is right. So it sort of gives him a bit more independence, a bit more liberty to practice his own beliefs.
Okay.
What's his beliefs about this?
No, I think that him realizing or seeing Lupito's death and Ultima's cure, he's finally realizing that he's growing up and now he's getting his own perspective on life instead of looking at the way that others want him to look at it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so on page 77, it says, "I thought of my mother. I always went straight home after school, but today I had something to celebrate. I was growing up and becoming a man, and suddenly I realized that I could make my own decisions." Do you think there's a relation between the intelligence Antonio gains and the innocence he loses?
I think so. I think that this isn't just for Antonio, but for everybody. Innocence is tantamount to ignorance, and so the more you learn, the more that's how you lose your innocence, is by learning. And so you may. Trying to think how best to word it. So as Antonio learns things, he sees that he's able to develop his own opinions, and so he questions things more, and it's not very fun.
So like when he gains his intelligence, like he starts to lose his innocence more because like, yeah.
Well, we're talking about like a kid that's like 5, 6 years old. So like in a sense, he's gaining a lot of knowledge, but then, he still has a lot of time for him to like develop his theories and everything. So you can't really say he loses his innocence because he's such a small kid. And
so you don't think there's a relation between the innocence when he gains more intelligence and the
well,
innocence he loses?
you can tie it to that, but then again, you can't because he's so small, and his parents have a huge influence on him, but his friends have a bigger influence on him. So it's kind of that thing. He's too small for him to like actually lose his innocence as it is. In my opinion.
You could make that argument, but I don't think that Antonio is your normal 5 or 6-year-old. There are some children that are highly mature, highly developed socially, and there are some adults that are dependent on others.
I totally agree, but it's just like, I don't know. For me, he's too small to actually lose anything. But he gains a lot, but he doesn't lose much of his innocence. But he does experience many things that a lot of kids at his age won't experience, such as pressure for being a priest and getting in a fight for a kid not believing in religion. Like it's stuff like that we don't see every day, but to him it's like a common thing, and for us it's kind of like strange that a 6-year-old would have to go to like see that and be a part of his life.
I think by gaining his intelligence, he does lose his innocence because in the novel when they say that like he sees, not a normal 5 or 6-year-old would see someone dying or someone like being murdered like that or getting into a fight or seeing Ultima's cure and stuff like that. So I think that he does lose his innocence because not every 5 or 6-year-old would think a normal 5 or 6-year-old would think that all the world's perfect and like it's light and everything, but he sees the world of like darkness now because of what he has seen.
Anyone else? Okay, so on page 248, it says, okay, so how does Antonio being able to change his mind on religion or like make his own decisions on his own religion reflect the theme of innocence? Okay, how does Antonio being able to change his mind or make his own decisions on religion reflect the theme of innocence? Because like now he's able to make his own decisions about religion.
I don't know about the tied to innocence, but I do relate it to like what's the word? Like it's like a realization, kind of like it's not innocence because when you're allowed to you start creating your own ideas, it's kind of like an independence. You're kind of being more independent, and it's that I don't think it's innocence because if you're still you still have that sense of innocence, you're kind of like insecure. You're not striving for something to look, in religion, especially, you're not creating your own theories. You're kind of like basing your knowledge off of what you hear, and especially from home. So like his mother's like convincing him to be a priest. So it's kind of like, for a while he actually carries that idea, and it's not that portrays innocence, but he's not creating his own ideas. He's just leading the life that his mom wants him to lead. And throughout the story, he starts creating his own ideas, which kind of like loses his innocence. But it's not innocence itself.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so on page 118, he says, "I had no idea that my own mother had said that losing your innocence and becoming a man was learning to sin. I felt weak and powerless in the knowledge of the impending doom." Why does Antonio's mom feel that becoming a man causes one to sin more?
To what?
To sin more.
Can you repeat the whole question?
Okay. Why does Antonio's mom feel that becoming a man causes one to sin more?
Maturity. You see much more aspects of life, such as, not to say it's like a common thing, kind of like a whorehouse. You're able to go to the whorehouse, like enjoy your time there. But I guess you can call that sin, in religious wise. But it's just things to life. You see much more of it. You're not like in this little bubble when you're a little kid. You can't go here, you can't go there because you're too young. Now that you mature more, you get older. You're able to explore more things. You're able to see what's out there, not just what's available to you. You can see much more.
Anyone else?
I think she thinks that being a man is sinful because of her husband, which is the vaquero guy. He always out drinking, and then they steal stuff. And so yeah, I think that's why she doesn't want him or her son to be more like her dad. She wants him to be a priest, so he won't be a sinner.
Okay, on page 179, you have been sick and you have seen things I would not wanted you to see. You are just a boy. That is in the past. Now you have communion in the summer to look forward to. When Antonio's mom said, "You are just a boy, but that is in the past," what is she implying about Antonio and his innocence?
She's saying that she sees that Antonio has grown up, and that even though he is still physically just a small boy, he's emotionally, spiritually, he's fully mature now. So she's saying that she thinks that if he's matured in these ways, that it won't be long before he starts maturing in other ways. And that's, relating back to the last question, that's when he'll start sinning. And so she wants to hold on to that. She wants him to hold on to his innocence just a bit longer, even though she knows that she probably won't be able to. That's why she's telling him to look forward to the communion. Those are the things that he was raised upon, so those are tied to his innocence.
Anyone else?
I agree. She's realizing that he's developing his own stuff. He's actually looking for new things. He's actually gained a lot of knowledge. He's actually created his own ideas. He's only 5 or 6, as I stated. He's small, but she sees that he's actually growing mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, anyway. And she takes notice, and I think that's all she's referring to, and it's little things like that will create a stronger relationship between them, I believe.
Okay.
And also because she probably thinks that when she says that he's just a boy, that's the past, and they have communion soon, she probably thinks that when he does his communion again, that he'll probably be purified again, and not so forget about all the things that he has seen and find God in himself to be more not sin and do the right what's right.
Anyone else? Okay, lastly, on page 119, he said, I was saddened by what I learned. I had seen beauty, but the beauty had burdened me with responsibility. Siko wanted to fish at the dam, but I was not in the mood for it. I thanked him for letting me see the golden carp, crossed the river, and trudged up to the hill homeward. How does the burden of responsibility change Antonio's innocence?
I think that I've said this a few times, but now that he has responsibility, that also gives him choices. He can choose how to carry out his responsibility. He can choose when to carry out his responsibility. He can choose even if he wants to do his responsibility. And so he's going to start making choices with that, and then he's going to start making choices with other things. And it's like I said earlier, once you start making choices, that's when you start learning, and that's when you lose your innocence. So being burdened with responsibility, he has to start thinking for himself now, and that's gonna cause him to learn.
Anyone else?
It broadens his horizons. He can choose his road, and if he actually wants to go down that road, he can take his time if he wants. But as you see, he doesn't really take his time. He kind of rushes to things, and he kind of develops his own theory. So, yeah.
Anyone else? So that concludes the end of the Socratic seminar. Thank you.